Good evening, everyone. The message for tonight's from the book Our Daily Bread, the number 151. No One Lives is the title. Simon Peter answered him, Lord, to whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life. This is in John 6:68. As the Master revealed new characteristics of his doctrine of love, his followers, who were them numerous, were penetrating a vast circle in the domains of responsibilities, many of them fearing the obligations that felt corresponded to them, left discreetly from the sheltering dining room of Capernaum. The Christ, meanwhile, conscious of the obligation of a divine order, far from violating the principles of liberty, reunited the small assembly that remained and questioned the disciples. You do not want to leave too, do you? It was at this time that Peter, amid the wise response engraved forever in the Christian edifice. Actually, whoever commences the spiritualization service with Jesus will never again feel identical emotions afar from him. The sublime experience may at times be interrupted but never annihilated. Being obligated on various occasions by impositions from the physical zone, the companion of the gospel will undergo spiritual accidents, causing a slight halt. However, he will definitely not lose his way. Whoever takes communion effectively in the banquet of Christian revelation will not forget the loving Master who addressed the invitation. For this reason, Simon Peter asked respectfully, "It is that the world is replete with philosophers, scientists, and reformers of all kinds, without a doubt respected in the advanced human concepts which they proclaim. However, in the majority of situations, they are no more than simple narrators of transitory words, reflecting on brief, ephemeral past experiences. Jesus Christ, however, is the Savior of the souls and the Master of the hearts, and with Him we will encounter the roots of the eternal life." Again, this is message 151 from Our Daily Bread. Thank you.
So you have the text there, right? So I'm just going to make a some brief comments on this message. The book that I have here has a little bit of a different translation, but this is the book that we are using. So this message is from this book. There are other covers to this book, but this is the same book, Our Daily Bread, and message 151, which says, "No one leaves." And this message is um, is really interesting because um, the story that is being told, or the part that's being told here, when Emmanuel reads or takes note from the Gospel of John, when Jesus asks, "Do you too?" I mean, Jesus is looking at his disciples, and a lot of people are leaving. A lot of people are facing problems and they don't want to stay. They just want to go because it's been hard for them to stay there. So Jesus looks at the disciples, the apostles, and asks, "Do you also want to go away? Do you also want to leave?" And Peter, which is one of the first disciples, says, um, "If we leave, to whom? To where? Who will we follow if we don't follow you?" That's his question. So, no, we're not leaving, we're staying with you. That's basically what he is saying. Because you have the words of eternal life. That's basically his answer. And this is on John chapter 6, verse number 68, which is right on top of the page that you have there. So, um, everybody, every single person has problems, period. It doesn't matter where we are, it doesn't matter who we are, it doesn't matter how much money I have, it doesn't matter what race I am, it doesn't matter what planet I am. Everybody has problems, period. What will make me stay or go? It's me. We usually tend to look at the problems or tend to look at the situations or tend to look at things that we are living, and we, unfortunately, we tend to blame the other person or blame the situation as if we are not responsible for our choices. Oh no, he is doing this, so I'm doing this. He is doing this, so I'm doing this. Yes, if someone is doing something, I will do something. He or she is doing whatever she or he wants to do. I don't have any control over that. I have control over my actions, not the other one's actions. So that's what Jesus is actually asking here. He's asking, are you going? What's your choice? That's basically what he's asking. What is your choice? He's asking to all of us, what is my choice? What is our choice? Am I staying or am I going? And Peter answers him, if we leave, if we go, where will I go? So he decides to stay. So that's a very interesting way to think about the problem. What will I do? And there's this sentence, which there's even a movie that has this title. It's what would Jesus do? So if Jesus was in my place, living the situation that I am living, what would he do? And if we start thinking about this, we will start, if we really understand what Jesus is, who Jesus is, in his teaching of love, we will start thinking differently about the situations we are living. Because we'll start to see things from a different perspective, from a different point of view. And from different points of view, especially if we are looking at things from the point of view of love, things will change. Not that the actual thing will change, but because I change, the things change. Because when I look at the same thing from a different perspective, that thing, although it's still the same, it's not the same anymore, right? So, if, for example, we see a person that killed another person, and we say, um, that person, oh, if it were me, I would hate that person. And then you see a mother that had her son, or her daughter killed. And when you see some people that go to the jail where the person is in prison because he killed her son, and she is going to prison to talk to the person that killed. And she forgives the person, brings food to the person, brings love to the person. We can see that the situation didn't change. The person still killed her son. However, she is looking at him as someone that needs help, not as someone that needs hate. That person that killed needs love. But us, who are not still like this woman, and I'm not telling this story that I imagined. If we Google, we will see lots of stories that are similar to this. Lots of stories, not one, not two. Because when we start looking at the problems of the world from this perspective of love, when we start looking at the problems of the world as if Jesus was looking, things change because I change. And that's there are many more things to comment about this, but hopefully we are able, or we will be able one day, to really see how powerful it is, this question of, are you going or are you staying? Are you going to keep following me? Are you going to keep following the teachings that I gave you, Jesus? Or are you just going away? And um, once we realize how important it is for us to stay, but not only to stay and lay down, to stay and actually do something, things will start to change. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, it may not be the day after tomorrow, but it will change because I'm going to be in peace with myself. I won't need the world to give me something, because what's important, it's what I am giving to the world, because I already received so much. I breathe, I am able to work, I am able to do so many things. And so once we realize this, we will respond to Jesus the way Peter said, Lord, uh, who will we go after if we leave? So my choice is to stay here with you. So that's one take of this on this message, message 151 of our daily bread. No one leaves, and you can read the message again from this book. And if you're online, so I don't know if there's anyone watching. Um, all our meetings in English are live on the internet as well, so you can always go back and watch everything that we already said. You can get the book and read the message. And I'm just gonna ask you for 1 minute while I go there, exactly because of the transmission. I need to change something on the computer, but I'll be back to go back and talk a little bit about the message for tonight. Just 1 second. So I am back again. And so we are, like I said, we are studying, um, following the sequence of the studies of this book, The Gospel According to Spiritism. Of course, um, this is the English translation. There are translations in Portuguese, in other languages. This is the English version. And there are different translations as well. Sorry. And the original book is in French. So if the book is right here online, so if you're watching online, the book is right here by my side, so you can see the cover. Um, and tonight we're going to talk about chapter number 12, which we've been following for the past few months, and we are on items 7 and 8. And it also talks about uh, one passage from Jesus that Kardec takes from the Gospel of Matthew, and um, it's on the Sermon on the Mount, which is, um, and I like to repeat this sometimes. Some people say, in, among them, Gandhi, which is not a Christian, was a Hindu, and it's very famous. He used to say that if all the gospels of Jesus were lost, everything was lost, but the only thing that was left were these 3 chapters of Matthew, which are called the Sermon on the Mount, chapters 5, 6, and 7. If everything else was lost and only these 3 chapters were kept, nothing of the message of Jesus basically was lost, because it's so full of teachings. It's so full of high remarks, of so full of love, and so full of um, good advices to us, that almost nothing would have been lost. He says that nothing would have been lost. Sometimes I like to say some almost nothing, because some people don't like to be like 100%. No, it could be like, let's say 95% was there. Maybe 5% is outside. So tonight we're talking about turn the other cheek, which is a sentence that's famous in, I don't know about other languages, but in Portuguese, we do it all the time. We say it all the time. In English, I hear here and there to turn the other cheek. The cheek is this. So it's that saying of Jesus. If someone hits you on the face, if someone hits you on the cheek, turn the other cheek. That's that's the saying that you usually hear people talking about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the passage from the Bible that says that where they say this, or Jesus says that, and then we're going to talk about, should we turn the other cheek? Should we not turn the other cheek? What does Spiritism say about it? What did Jesus mean when he said about it? So we're gonna, talk a little bit about this idea of turning the other cheek and what does that mean. So Jesus says, and this is in Matthew chapter 5, verses from 38 to 42. So he says, "You have learned that it was said." So he's saying, you heard around people talking about this. So you heard this. You heard a lot of people saying this. That's what he's saying. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. We all heard that as well. An eye for an eye, right? An eye for an eye. If you give me an eye, I'll take an eye from you. So that's what Jesus starts saying. He says, you heard this. You've been hearing this a lot. So that he repeats that, right? An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Then he says, I am telling you, Jesus is telling us, I am telling you not to resist the evil or the bad things that others might want to do to you. So he's saying, do not resist the evil that other people, the bad things that other people want to do to you. But if someone hits you on the on your right cheek, I was on the left cheek, on the right cheek, he says, offer him the other also. So if someone hits you on the face, offer the other side. That's literally what's written here. We're going to talk about it. And if someone wants to sue you to take your tunic, to take your clothes, right, to take your sweater, to take your coat, to take your tunic, leave him with your cloak also. So if someone wants to take your tunic, your sweater, instead of fighting the person, give your shirt as well. Not only give the cloak, not only give the tunic, give your shirt together. So he wants your shirt, give him your shoe. That's what Jesus is literally saying. That's what he says. And if someone wants to force you to go 1,000 steps with him, wants to force you to go 1,000 steps with him, go 2,000. Give to him who asks, and do not turn away from someone who wants to borrow from you. So if someone asks you, give him what he asks you. And do not turn away someone who wants to borrow from you. And never say no to someone who wants to borrow from you. Okay. This is a teaching that is, if we want to take it word by word, everybody will say he is crazy. How can I, if someone wants to take my jacket, I give more than what he wants to take? What if someone wants to hit me on the face, then I turn the other, so you say, hit me on the other side. So if we are to analyze this just by the physicality of it, just by the physical part of it, it's really hard to come up with a good explanation to it. But I'm going to tell you a story that um, probably not very common, although I heard that a few people already did this. And it's kind of weird at first, but it really, like, to me, it shows that even in certain degrees, what Jesus said here can be done even physically. So there's this story that I heard, from different people, of a man in Brazil that he took care of an orphanage. So he took care of kids that didn't have parents. And he used to go around the town sometimes to ask people to help the project that he was running, to help with the orphanage, or the place. And he would go around. That was a while ago. So he would go in town and would knock on the door or leave a message and ask people for help. And people sometimes would say yes, some people would say no. Some people wouldn't respond. He would just leave a message and that's it. So he was walking around. One day he got to this door and he knocked on the door. The person that came out was very angry, was very like, and he said, "Oh, I'm here to ask you for your, to help support this." And then he said what was the the project that he was working for. And the person looked at him and said, and started like screaming and saying, "Get out of here! I don't want to help." Or, "No, no, no, I'm gonna help." And then he spits on the person. And he spits on the person. And the person looks at him and says, um, which is, to me, it's almost unbelievable. I mean, it's something that I don't know how can you really get to that level, but I guess that to a certain point, that's where we we want to be at one day. Not that this happens to us, but that we have that kind of response ready. He says, "Oh, um, thank you. That I deserve. That's what I deserve. And you're right. But could you still help the kids that are in need? Because what you gave is for me, which I accept. But would you be willing to help the other people, the kids?" That's physically, to me, as close as I can think of an example of what it is to turn the other cheek. If a person comes to us with violence, doesn't matter what kind, can be physical, can be verbal, can be in the form of a message, a text message, a voice message, a message on the internet, whatever, it doesn't matter. Whatever type of violence that we feel that we are receiving, what is our response? What should I do if I am with Jesus? And as I said in the beginning, if Jesus was in my place, what would he do? How would he respond what would he say? I really and sincerely tend to believe that once we get this in our minds, once we have these ideas, and once we start to really think about the way that Jesus behaves and the way that Jesus teaches us to behave to and to talk to other people. And we are not like that yet. We are not Jesus. We will not be able to do what he did. But we already know that, right? I will not be able to do exactly what he did. Period. I will not. That doesn't mean, though, that I should not try to do it, right? And maybe sometimes I can do something similar. Sometimes I will not be able to do something similar. I will fall. It's fine. That's totally fine. Why? We are learning. We were kids one day, right? We we didn't know how to walk. When we started walking, what happened to us? We fell so many times. But it's exactly because I wanted to walk that I stood up, that I raised myself to a level that's different than the level that I was before. And because I am trying, I will fall. I will hit my head sometimes. I will bleed sometimes. How many times have we bled when we are learning how to use a knife? How many times when we were cutting, peeling off an orange, we cut ourselves? How many times? Or smaller things. I remember one day I was working at my dad's place, and there was this screw that I had to put on the wall, and it was a wood stud, but it was like very very sturdy. It was not like the studs here that you can put even with your fingers. Sometimes you can put stuff in. So it was like a very very hard wood, right? So I had this screw that I had to screw it, and I didn't know that depending on the wood, you will not be able to put it. You have to do a small hole so that you can put a screw there. So I was holding the screw, right, and with a screwdriver trying to do it, right, and every time I was doing it, the screw was like twisting, was not going in, it was just falling. So I had my finger right here. The screw was right here on top of my finger. I was holding the screw so that the screw wouldn't fall, right, and then I was doing this. What happened? The screwdriver just slipped and then went right into my finger. I still have that half moon that we have on all fingers, like white. There's a piece of it that's missing because the screwdriver went right through my finger. That's a kid learning to do stuff. We will always do stuff like that. It doesn't matter. Even in our spiritual lives, we'll do the same thing because we don't know, because we're not paying attention, because we're not focused enough, because we are learning. I'm not trying to make a mistake, which is different. Some people say, no, go ahead and make mistakes. No, it's not trying to make mistakes. It's trying to do the right thing. Because if we're trying to make a mistake, that's I'm learning to make mistakes. And that's not the proposition. The proposition is learn to do the right thing. While we are learning to do the right thing, sometimes I will not be able to. Sometimes I will slip. Sometimes I will fall. Sometimes it will hurt. Sometimes, we waste a lot of time. But that's fine. We have to at least be willing to put the effort to do something right. And some people look at this idea, and they think, to me, it's kind of weird that some people still think like this, and they say, let's say I'm driving, right, driving, and then all of a sudden, a person comes and like cuts me off, right? We get angry, right, and I get angry, but instead of instead of screaming or doing something um, wrong or yelling or doing something weird, I just try to calm down. And although I'm full of that hatred, although I'm full of that like uh, anger, I say, go with God. Some people look at this and say, you're a hypocrite. I look at this and say, I am doing the best that I can to get out of my own self and of that area where I know that I still am, but I don't want to be anymore, which is different. Is different than when I am in that situation and then I just want to show someone that I am not what I am. That's being a hypocrite. Oh, I am showing to you that I am not what I am. That's being a hypocrite. But who is to judge if not myself? You don't know if I am showing what I am or I am not. Nobody knows. I don't know what's inside of my mind, what's inside of your minds. But this is not being a hypocrite. To me, this is being a person that recognizes that it's not correct to have this full anger on the inside. And um, I don't want to have this anger anymore. So I just want to act differently. It will take some time to change. Yes, it will take some time to change. It will take a lot of stuff to change. Yes. But being a hypocrite is trying to show off to someone, not to really trying to do differently. Otherwise, if I know that I don't know, let's say something very simple, I don't know math, I don't know how to do 2 plus 2, right? But I am trying to do 2 plus 2, right? I will try to do it and I'll make it right once. Next time, I will not make it right because I still didn't understand exactly what it is. So I don't know how to do it, but I'm still trying to do it. Is this being a hypocrite? No, it's being a hypocrite. Hypocrite is if I'm telling someone that I know how to do it when I don't know how to do it. This is being a hypocrite. But trying to be better, this is not being a hypocrite. This is trying to improve, trying to be better. So when Jesus says, turn the other cheek, what is he saying? He's saying, convert what you've been getting into something different. Do something different from what the other ones are doing to you. Otherwise, it's what? An eye for an eye. If someone hits you, you hit it back. What is the difference? Oh, the difference is because he hit me first. Then? And who hit him first? And then the other person who hit the other one before. And the other one before. So we will never stop. It will never stop. So like we were saying from the message on the beginning, right? From our daily bread. The only control we have, and sometimes we don't even have that control, but the only control we have is over our own actions. And some people would say, oh, but I don't even have control over my actions. That's true. Sometimes we don't, because we still didn't learn how to. Sometimes I decide, spiritually speaking or morally speaking, of riding a bicycle without brakes. How am I going to control it? It's very hard. I'm going to hurt myself. I'm going to hurt either my shoes, putting the shoes on the tires so that we can brake, or putting the feet on the ground, which can hurt my feet as well. If we are living like that, even I can't control myself properly because I still didn't find the proper brakes for my bicycle life. So I have to find ways within my life to have certain controls so that I can say, hey, here you stop. Otherwise, you're gonna not only do bad things to your life, but you're going to do bad things now to other people's lives. So, like this, today I received a video of this woman. She was delivering, and I saw another one the other day, which was a man doing basically the same thing. They were working for a delivery company. And then this woman today, the other one was a truck, was an even bigger truck, or a van. This one was a small, like, car. So she parked the car, or she thought she parked the car. So she comes, and we only see her walking towards the door to deliver a package, right? So she delivers the package. When she turns around, the car is coming to the house. She didn't put it on park, or she didn't, what, I don't know what happened. And she tries to stop the car with her foot. She runs towards the car, puts the foot. Of course, that the car will push her over, and she wasn't able to do anything. She fell. The car hit. Well, it's not a. We see that the car got damaged, and probably the house got a little damage too, but it was not like big thing. It's our life. Sometimes we lose control of our lives, and what can we do? We can only watch because we didn't pay attention before, right? So even these small things with just one simple mistake. So we have to be aware of these things. And of course, she will, I don't know what happened to her. Maybe she got fired, or she's going to have to pay for something, or whatever it is. I have no idea. If it happens to us, we're going to have to face the consequences. It's the same thing. And then we have to take responsibility of who I am, what I want to do, how I want to deal with this, and then move forward with that thing. And that's physically speaking, but also is mentally speaking, spiritually speaking, is the same type of idea. So it is my responsibility to take care of my actions, not of the other person's actions. Whatever the other person thinks, does, feels, it's her or his responsibility. I have responsibility on how I respond to that, on how I give it back to the person. So if we don't cut, if we don't separate, it will be like those dominoes that we put on a table or in a room, right? I push one side, it will fall to the end. So when I have this like set of dominoes, right, on a floor, let's imagine this set of dominoes like just here on the floor, like doing patterns and going back and forth, and then someone comes there and then just hits it. The first one, and it's not ready yet. I don't want to film. So how do I stop it? I have to go there and remove a few of them in the middle so that the other ones keep steady. That's why when people are putting those things together, they have small pieces of metal or plastic or something that if it's hit for whatever reason, just a small section falls so that it interrupts. Same thing with being hit on one side of the face. If I hit it back, when will it stop? What will make it stop? And the question once again, what am I doing differently than the other ones? But we tend to, oh, but my pride, oh, but how will people look at me if I don't do anything? They will think I'm weak. They will think I'm this. They will think I'm that. I actually think, and I totally agree with the message, that it takes more courage not to do something at the same level as the other one than to do the same thing as the other one did. Because you're going to be judged. Some people will look down at you. Some people will say, oh, you're weak. You should have done something. But I did something. I did more than what the other person did. I didn't go into the vengeance mode. I looked at the other person, and maybe in the beginning, it will make us feel as if we are better than the other person. And that's not what we want to be in terms of, I don't want to be better than anyone else. That's not what I want to achieve. I want to be better than me. I want today to be better than I was yesterday. And tomorrow, I want to be better than what I am today. That's my goal. If I start by looking at the others and trying to be better than the others, I never even know how bad or how good the other person is. I never know. That's why when Kardec asks in the Spirit's book, um, which is the model and the guide that we should look on earth to follow? What is the spirit? What is the person? What is the model and the guide that we should all look upon? And the answer is simple. See Jesus. The answer is simple. See Jesus. And if we look around, we will find lots of good people, lots of excellent people that we can model ourselves upon. I'm reading this book right now, um, written by a spiritist of around the same time as Kardec. His name is Leon Denis. And the book is about Joan of Arc, Joanna d'Arc. So he is talking about her life. And Joanna d'Arc was killed, Joan of Arc was killed in a bonfire, on a fire, right? She was tied to a pole and they put fire and then she died. She was 19 years old. She led an army to try to free France from England. That was um, they were in this war for already about 90 years at the time. They've been fighting over the territory of France. And when she started very young. She started to see visions, to hear spirits, and they were saying that she would free France, and she would, with her victories, the king of France would be able to return as a king of France, and then France would be free. Took a little while for people to believe her, but when she got ahead and were able to, when she was able to lead an army, she was able to do what the voices were telling her. She was able to win some battles and to make the person that was supposed to be the king of France to be the new king of France. But she was captured a little while later, and she was killed. The war continued, and only after a few more years, France was able to finally win the war and took the country back on their hands without the English. But why am I pointing to Joan of Arc? Why am I'm telling her story? In this book that I'm reading, which is by Leon Denis, as I said, the name of the book is Joan of Arc, Medium. Um, he goes to, he shows us how much of what she did, um, and I'm making this connection as I'm speaking here, but how much as what she did was actually giving the other cheek to everybody that was pointing that she was a bad person, that she wanted to do this, that she wanted to do that. But every time they did it, every time they talked about it, every time they pointed it, and she was in prison for a year and a half, more or less, and she was being tortured. She was being like they did terrible things to her. And like once again, she died when she was 19 years old. She was only 19, but she never in any in no um, no writings, no nothing that has been saved from that time. She never retaliated against anyone. She never said one bad thing about the other people. She always referred to God in first place. Oh, you're judging me, but I don't accept your judgment. I only accept judgment from God. But she would not say that the person was bad. She was not. No, she would always refer to God in first place. And so the model that she was looking upon was Jesus in God. But she was a Christian, and that's understandable. However, if you are a Buddhist, right, you're going to look for a good example in Buddhism, which is totally fine. So, what I want to say is, let's not model ourselves with people that are at our same level. Otherwise, what's going to happen? I'm going to be disappointed. So, I'm here talking. I hear people on the internet. I hear like Haroldo or whoever it is, Divaldo or whoever it is, a good speaker, or Padre Marcelo, Padre Fabio, whoever the name is, it doesn't matter. And then I am, oh, this guy, this woman, and then all of a sudden something happens to that person. We are all at the same level. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to fall with them too, because now I am without my bearings. The ground just shook, and then I don't survive anymore. So when Kardec asks the spirit, who should we model ourselves to? And the spirit say, see Jesus. To us, Jesus is the best example of all. That's why I said in the beginning, if we want to do something that we think it should be correct, we should ask ourselves, what would Jesus do in my place? But if I'm not a Christian, if I am, what would this person that I deem to be a good person, a good missionary, what would that person do? So that I can try to raise a little bit of my level that we are here. Otherwise, what am I going to keep doing? If someone hits me, I'm going to hit the person back because I'm still in this level. So the message of Jesus saying to us, turn the other cheek, it's not for us to just give up. And if a person hits me, then I just let the person hit and I and hit. No, of course that I have to defend myself. So Jesus is not talking about physical violence necessarily. I have to defend myself. I have to, in a certain way, protect my integrity, protect my physicality. So protect, but don't do the same thing that the other person is doing. Otherwise, I'm no different than the other. That's why he compares what he's saying to an eye for an eye, which was a law that was at the time still on. So if a person comes to Christiani and steals from Christiani a chicken that she used to raise, Christiani can come to the person's house and steal a chicken from her. That was the law. If someone came and killed her brother, killed her sister, killed her son, she could go and kill the other person's son because that was the law. Where would this stop? Where does this stop? It never stops. And then the other person, she killed my son. Now I'm going to kill, and then it never stops. For that to stop, someone has to go there and physically say, I'm going to stop. This stops here now. And then the person doesn't do anything anymore. Acts differently. Chico Xavier, for me to finish this, he has, plenty of stories that deal with this kind of situation, but there's one that I like. One day he um I don't know precisely the full details. I have read this story a while ago and it just came to my mind, but so I'm not going to be able to tell everything precisely. But there was this thing. He needed to go away to visit someone, and he had this neighbor, and people would talk bad things about her, say that no one could trust her. She would go and steal small stuff all the time, and no one trusted her to do anything. And then one day, Chico Xavier is going to go away, as I said, and Chico says, "What am I going to do? I have to leave my house." And um, people keep saying things about this woman. And I think Emmanuel comes to him and say, "Why don't you ask her to take care of your house?" So, and he says, "But she is the one that do it different than the other ones. They are saying that she is this. Have you ever seen it? No. So put trust on her and see what happens." And then he puts trust on her. And she says, "Oh, I'm going to go away. Can you take care of my house and let no one take anything from my house?" Then he gets back home and the house is protected. So, am I saying that we should give the keys of my house to a person that steals stuff? No, that's not what I'm saying. We have the responsibility of doing differently. However we want to do it, it's our responsibility. If I want to give it, I give it. If I don't want to give it, I don't give it. I have the choice to make. But if I keep acting the same way the other people are acting, what am I doing different in this world? Really, what am I doing differently? And this is not like a moral lesson in that sense. No, it's just for us to think of actually what are we doing differently? Because if we want the world to change, if we want the world to be a different place, what am I doing waiting for the other people to change? If I wait for the other people to change, it will take whatever the time they want it to change. But if I take the change in my hands, if I do it differently, then the world already started to change. It's a small change, yes, but it's a change nonetheless. And it's a necessary change because for the world to really change, everybody needs to change, including me. So, why am I waiting for the others to change? I have to change it myself. So, Gandhi, as I said it before as well, he says, be the change. Be yourself the change that you want the world to have. We have to start. Otherwise, so if someone wants to walk with me, wants to force me to walk with him or with her, let's give it a chance and see what happens. How can I help someone if the person is in a bad situation, is in a path that's wrong? How can I help the person if I move away from the person? If I don't care, then I don't care, right? But if it's a person that I like, if it's a person that's important to me, I will be there trying to help the best that I can. It's not that I'm going to do for the other person, but by being there, I might be able to help the person somehow. So um, there's much more to this, And I know that I repeated myself a lot, but in some of these things, I think that repeating ourselves is very important. That's how we learn things. A kid, to learn something, repeats that same thing over and over and over again until it learns. One day we didn't know how to write our names. We repeated 1,000 times to learn how to write my name, right? And to learn everything or anything that we do, we repeat, we repeat. So um, that's how I repeated a lot of things here, because I need to hear it, because I need to change. And hopefully, you guys can also listen here and start the change that we need the world to have. And with this, um, we finish tonight's conversation or talk. Chapter 12, love your enemies, and items 7 and 8. We're going to do a final prayer so that I can go there and finish our transmission, hopefully. Um, Thank you for the ones who were watching. I don't know if there was someone there, but hopefully there were. And thank you guys for coming. And we're going to do a prayer, and Christiane will say something here. She will not, apparently. So with the smiles on our faces and laughter and joy, we'd like to thank Jesus, thank the good spirits for being here tonight with us, helping us think about Jesus's message, think about Jesus's love, and asking Jesus, asking God to help us, to sustain us, to help us go through our issues, through our problems, but also go through our happiness that sometimes we don't know how to deal with. So thank you, Jesus, for everything. I hope that your blessings fall on us, fall on our families, on our friends, and also fall on to those who don't like us. But hopefully you like us all and you love us all. And maybe one day your love will teach us how to love everyone the same. Bless us and make us full of your love and your compassion today and always. So be it. So we're going to have the passes.